Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So we're going to be breaking down the September 11th attacks. Now there's been a lot of speculations and so-called conspiracies about what happened on September 11th. Some believe that is a complete hoax. Some believe that George Bush was responsible for it. And some people believe that it was a real terrorist attack. So we're going to break down exactly what happened in September 11th. Alright? So for starters, September 11th happened on 9/11, obviously, which can be written out 9/11 or 11/9. Just like it took place in Lower Manhattan, New York, which equals 119. And the Pentagon is another location that got hit. It equals 119 as well. You know, just like how it happened on 11/9. The September 11th attacks, commonly known as 9/11, were four coordinated Islamist suicide terrorist attacks carried out by Al-Qaeda against the United States in 2001. That morning, 19 terrorists hijacked four commercial airliners scheduled to travel from the New England and Mid-Atlantic regions of the East Coast to California. The hijackers crashed the first two planes into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, two of the world's 5 largest buildings at the time, and aimed the next two flights towards targets in or near Washington, D.C. in an attack on the nation's capital. The third team succeeded in striking the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, in Arlington County, Virginia, while the fourth plane went down in rural Pennsylvania during a passenger revolt. The attacks killed nearly 3,000 people and instigated the multi-decade global war on terror. So as you can see here, Lower Manhattan and conspiracy both have the same value of 57. Lower Manhattan being one of the locations where the planes crashed into the buildings, right? And then conspiracy. A conspiracy is a plot between multiple people to commit an illegal act. That's what a conspiracy is. September 11, 2001 equals 63. Just like 19 terrorists, Jesuit order, terrorist attack, skull and crossbones, and terrorist. So 19 terrorists, right, committed a terrorist attack on September 11th, 2001. And then, as usual, the Jesuit order and skull and crossbones, they leave their marks on all these situations. So September 11th, 2001 happened to be on a Tuesday, all right? Tuesday is ruled by Mars. Mars in astrology symbolizes the principle of assertive energy. Aries is a sign that's ruled by Mars, okay? So it's interesting how Tuesday and September 11th, when you write it out like this, you get the value of 94, just like how September 11th was on a Tuesday. All right, and you get 94 and 94. Also, Mars and conspiracy have that same match of 51 and 57, 51, 57. Ordinal in reverse, and then reduction, and then reverse reduction. Right? And then Aries, murder, and collapse all have the same gematria, 83, 38. Same thing with murder and collapse, you know, just like the collapse of the Twin Towers killed multiple people. Killed is another word for murder. And then Aries is the sign that rules over Tuesday, which is when the collapse happened, should I say. And then we have 34, 34, and then the reflection of 34 and 43. So they all have the same value. Another interesting thing I found is that specifically with the 646 and 718 area codes of New York, New York, like New York City, New York equals 646. And then we have September 11th with the anagram of 646, 466, but you still see how we have the same numbers. 2 6s and a 4. 2 6s and a 4. And then with 718, Shanksville, which is the city in Pennsylvania where the plane flew into an open field allegedly, you get 718. And then 17 minutes also equals 718. The Twin Towers were each hit 17 minutes after each other. The North Tower was hit, and then the South Tower got hit 17 minutes later. 17 minutes equals 718, just like how the planes hit in New York in the 718 area code of Manhattan. And then we have our order out of chaos slide. All right. September 11th equals 222. Just like order out of chaos also equals 222. Order out of chaos also equals 75 and 78, just like lower Manhattan equals 57 and 78. 57 is the reflection of 75, and then we still have the same exact value of 78. Order out of chaos is the motto of the 33rd degree Freemasons. And it's interesting how Muhammad Atta, hijacked, terrorist, and New York all have the value of 33. The first impact was that of the American Airlines Flight 11, which ringleader Muhammad Atta flew into the North Tower of the World Trade Center complex in Lower Manhattan at 8:46 a.m. So it's funny also how the plane struck the North Tower at 8:46 a.m., right? When North Tower equals 846 in this reverse trigonal cipher. So the plane flew into the North Tower at 8:46 a.m. And 8:46. And then we have 33, how like Muhammad Atta equals 33. But when you write out the number 33 in its letter form, you get 846 in this reverse Sumerian cipher. Just like how Muhammad Atta flew the plane into the North Tower at 846, 846, 846. And then American Airlines Flight 11, right? American Airlines, even when you write that out, you get 110. The zero has no value in numerology, so it's basically 11. American Airlines Flight 11, American Airlines 11, right? Just like how it happened on 9/11, just a lot of riddles there, honestly. It's all a joke. Skull and crossbones, 110, same rules. You take off the zero, you get 11 in the same cipher as American Airlines. And there's that 17 minutes again. 17 minutes later at 9:03, the World Trade Center's South Tower was hit by United Airlines Flight 175. Both 110-story skyscrapers collapsed within an hour and 41 minutes, bringing about the destruction of the remaining 5 structures in the World Trade Center complex and damaging or destroying nearby buildings, right? So it's funny how Society of Jesus, Order of Illuminati, the number 4 dishonesty, scripted news, all equal that 9 and 3 value, just like how it happened at 903, right? Thought that was pretty funny. And then the South Tower, right? South Tower equals 47, just like terrorist George W. Bush. Oh, wow, seeing his name for the first time, huh? George W. Bush, Osama bin Laden, Illuminati all have that 47 value. So it's funny how this is the president, and then this is the alleged Al Qaeda leader, and their names both have the value of 47. And people also think that George W. Bush was responsible for it, and then people also think that Osama bin Laden was responsible for it. And their names both have the same value in gematria. Interesting, right? And then also, with the 110 story skyscrapers, 110, just like how, American Airlines equals 110, Skull and Crossbones equals 110. Just another interesting coincidence, because everything's a coincidence, right? And then a third flight, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m., causing a partial collapse. So it's funny how September 11th itself equals 77, just like how American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon on September 11th. Interesting. Lower Manhattan, Pennsylvania, New York City, the Pentagon, George Bush, terrorist Virginia, and South Tower all have the value of 53. Just like how the Twin Towers in Lower Manhattan, the open field in Pennsylvania, Lower Manhattan is in New York City, the Pentagon, George Bush, terrorist, Virginia, South Tower, right? Terrorist, allegedly ran the planes into the Twin Towers in Lower Manhattan. They led the planes into an open field in Pennsylvania. The Twin Towers in New York City, allegedly they landed the plane, or they crashed the plane into the Pentagon. George Bush was the president when all of this happened, right? It's all a big joke. The fourth and final flight, United Airlines Flight 93. Oh, look at 93, like going back to this slide with the 93s, Jesuit Order, or not Jesuit Order, Society of Jesus, same thing. But Society of Jesus, Order of Illuminati, number 4 dishonesty, scripted news, all equal 93, right? United Airlines Flight 93 flew in the direction of the Capitol. Alerted to the previous attacks, the passengers fought for control, forcing the hijackers to nosedive the plane into a Stony Creek Township field near Shanksville at 10:03 a.m. The investigators determined the Flight 93's target was either the United States Capitol or the White House. So we have that Shanksville again, right? Shanksville has the value of 66. Just like airliners, South Tower, Osama bin Laden, and Number of the Beast all have that 66, right? So airliners crashed into the South Tower and into the field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the Stony Creek Township field. Osama bin Laden, the accused orchestrator of it all. The Number of the Beast, it all equals 66, right? George W. Bush. So he was the 43rd U.S. president, and he was also president at the time that this happened, right? So it's funny how 19 terrorists, Twin Towers, death, September 11th, Virginia, Freemason, American Airlines, and killing all have the value of 43, just like how George W. Bush was the 43rd president It's also interesting that his birthday was July 6th, right? Which can be written out 7/6 or 6/7. Skull and Bones, 76. September 11th, 76. Manhattan, 76. Jesuit Order, Stony Creek Township, all 76. So September 11th in Manhattan, where the Twin Towers allegedly collapsed, right? 76. Stony Creek Township, the plane flew into the Stony Creek Township on September 11th. And then again, the Jesuit Order, Skull and Bones, leaving their mark, as usual. And then it's also funny and interesting how George W. Bush killed and Twin Towers have the value of 67. And then also George W. Bush and Twin Towers have the same value of 67 and 140. Right? And then specifically with the Skull and Bones, right? So George W. Bush was actually a member of the Skull and Bones Society. There he is right there. There's this people of the Skull and Bones. You see the skull and the crossbones right there. And then there's even a skull right here. And he even wrote in his autobiography, quote unquote, "In my senior year, I joined Skull and Bones, a secret society. So secret, I can't say anything more." So that should let you know right there what kind of business that these people are operating in. Right? So secret. What's so secret about it that you can't share it? What are you really doing? All right? And it's interesting that George W. Bush's birthday was 67 days before 9/11, when Skull and Crossbones equals 67. George W. Bush was in Skull and Crossbones. And remember, going back here, even 7/6, Skull and Crossbones, just like George W. Bush's birthday. So this man was legit meant to be a part of the Skull and Bones Society. He was born for it. He was literally born for it. No matter which way you write it. You write it 7/6, Skull and Bones, 7/6. You write it 6/7, Skull and Crossbones, 67. And then his birthday was even 67 days before 9/11. This has Skull and Bones, Skull and Crossbones written all over it. And so this happened on 41 date numerology, 9/11, 2001, 20 and 1. When you add it all up like this, you get 41. It's like Al-Qaeda, Airliner, Ritual, Jesuits, Skull and Bones all have the value of 41. Right? Remember, zeros have no value, so we're just looking at it at 41. The terrorist group Al-Qaeda sent airliners to hit the Twin Towers, allegedly. And at this point, I know this is a ritual. And then again, Jesuits, Skull and Bones, leaving their marks, just like they usually do. And then also about this 41, 41 just happens to be the 13th prime number. George W. Bush, CIA, Osama, the number 4 dishonesty, Brotherhood of Death, all have that 13 value, because zeros have no value. And this number 4 dishonesty has been popping up, so who's lying, right? Did this man Osama, part of Al-Qaeda, did he really do it? Was he really responsible? Or was he just the person that, you could blame it on? Just blame it on the terrorist, right? So-called terrorists, just blame it on them. Or was George W. Bush really behind this the whole time? They have the same value. Which one is it, right? And then, of course, the Brotherhood of Death is just another name for Skull and Bones. Brotherhood of Death, which George Bush was a part of, right? So if you add it this way, you add 9/11, then the 2 and the 1, really, You get 23. Airliners, Central Intelligence Agency, Al Qaeda, American Airlines Flight 77, when you write that all out, Ritual, Osama, death, murder, all have the value of 23. Just like how airliners of Al Qaeda, right? Osama is also part of Al Qaeda. They made the Twin Towers collapse allegedly, which killed people, murder, and then they died, so death, right? Part of a ritual, but it's the Central Intelligence Agency behind it, right? And then American Airlines Flight 77, the name of one of the flights, also equals 23, right? Zero has no value. Then also, 23 is the ninth prime number. New York, New York, CIA, Illuminati, and Virginia all have that 9, right? 9, 9, 9, 9. So that's also interesting as well. The planes flew into New York, New York, and in Virginia. CIA, short abbreviation for Central Intelligence Agency. And then Illuminati, same thing as the Jesuits. The people up top, the Society of Jesus. This happened on the 254th day of the year. United Airlines equals 254. Remember, zero has no value. Murder also is 254. On this day, people were murdered because of the United Airlines flight that allegedly crashed into the buildings, right? And then it's also interesting how September 11th left 111 days left in the year. All these 11s, ones, all this numerology with the 11s. It's kind of interesting. World Trade Center equals 1110, 111. All right, World Trade Center. United Airlines Flight 175 also equals 111. New York even equals 111. Mark of Beast equals 111, right? So, just like how the World Trade Center was in New York, United Airlines Flight 175, one of the planes that hit the buildings, and then Mark of Beast, self-explanatory, Mark of Beast, Satan. But that's all I have for this presentation. I'm pretty sure you can see right, by now that the numerology is all scripted. This was a whole orchestrated attack. In my view, that is, at least. I know a lot of other people think the same. But, as usual, do your own research, don't take everything I say as, 100% true. Do your research, come to your own conclusions. But as usual, hopefully you enjoy the video. Like, subscribe, stay safe.